We're live.
Hello.
Hi. Okay. While we wait a little bit to get some people here, I'm opening up the group chat for you guys to see so that I can put our list, our order is what I'm trying to say. Sorry. I'm trying to think and do things at the same time. What? Guys, my computer, I wasn't being able to copy and paste because my keyboard was not plugged into my laptop.
No.
Good job. You're off to a great start.
No wonder it wasn't working. Okay, so I'm Cassie. This is my channel. Hello, welcome. This is the live show for Heretics Anonymous by Katie Henry. This is a young adult contemporary, and I gave it what did I give it? I think I gave it a 4. I if I'm thinking back now, I would give it like a 3 to a 4 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy it. I liked a lot of the conversations about religion and being able to discuss just because two people don't agree on a religion, are not from the same religion, doesn't mean that either one has to hate the other and stuff like that they can still get along. I really loved all of that topic, but I didn't love all of the story necessarily. I found a lot of stuff annoying as well. So that's my thoughts. Paula, you go next. Introduce yourselves. Sorry.
Sorry. So I'm Paula from Fandom and Books, even though I haven't posted a video in forever. But still, I gave this a 4 out of 5. I liked it. It was interesting and fun, but there were a lot of moments when I was just wanting to just step into the book and slap Michael quite a bit, which is the protagonist. So yeah, it was good though.
Good. Emma, sorry.
Hi. No, I was just fixing. I was putting my sock on.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Emma from Emma Books, and I love Heretics Anonymous. It was one of my most anticipated of the year. It's now one of my favorites of the year. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. I think it's fantastic. I love it.
Christina.
Sorry, it broke. Was it my turn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Christina from Christina's Journey, and I gave this book a 4.75, almost a 5 star, because I really liked it. It's just I had the same problem with Michael. I was just sometimes I just wanted to punch him. But besides that, I love the book.
Let's see. Sorry. Next would be CJ.
Hi, I'm CJ. I have a YouTube channel, but I haven't posted on it in a month because school hit me in the face. Nice. But it's just Christiana Raymond, which is really hard to spell, but it's Christian with an A on the end of it. But I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really loved the discussion of religion. I really identified with Michael being very upset with his father all the time. But I don't know, sometimes teenage boys are just really crude, and I just didn't necessarily love that part of it, but it was just sometimes I was like, is this necessary?
And Chelsea.
Hello, Chelsea. My channel is Chelsea Darling Reads. I enjoyed this well enough, but I think I'm leaning more towards a 2.5. I read a lot of contemporary, and this just there was a lot of angst in this, and it really angst for a good reason, I suppose, but it was just, there was a lot of angst. And it was hard on me.
So true. Nice. Okay, so before we get into spoilers, I have a couple of announcements, and I wanted to say that if you guys who are watching have questions, then use the live chat thing that's on the right-hand side of your where you're watching the live show. You should be able to see it there. It might be under sometimes.
One of these ways.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys see, but it's one of the ways. And so yeah, ask questions there. And the live show for October, we're reading Vengeful. I have it. I just got them today, actually. My stepmom went book shopping with me, so she bought me a bunch of books. It was awesome.
That's fun.
Yeah, I was like, okay, let's go to Barnes and Noble. So in October, we're reading Vengeful by V.E. Schwab, which is the sequel to Vicious. So make sure that you read Vicious before you read Vengeful. Don't spoil yourself. And then the live show for this is going to be November 17th. I want to say it's at 1 p.m. PST, but I'm not exactly sure on that. So follow Sassy Book Club for all of the announcements for that. But that's what we're reading in October. We're actually also live showing next week. Was it last month, Chelsea? That
Yes.
we read? It was last month, right? So last month we read The Raven Boys, and then the group that was in that live show decided to do a read along. So if you want to read The Dream Thieves with us and then live show about it next weekend, October 20th at 8 p.m. PST.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, Chelsea's in it too. And then Rhiannon, who might be showing up in this live show a little bit later when she gets off work. She's hosting it. So it's on the channel Crescent Moon Reads. So that's all of the announcements that I have. Thank you for posting the Twitter to the live show group. Chelsea, you're awesome.
So what I moderating, you know.
Yeah, you're amazing. It's great. I would be a hot mess without you, basically. Do we have any more non-spoilery comments before we warn for spoilers? Anybody? We can talk about is this Katie Henry's first
Debut,
novel?
yeah, it's her debut. She is. I know Katie Henry really well. Yeah, well, I met her because I've been promoting her book, and I got her a bunch of pre-orders and stuff. So I ended up meeting her just from being so excited for it.
Nice.
And so yeah, this is her debut, but she's a playwright. So this is her first novel.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. And then she has another book coming out, I think next year. It's called Let's Call It a Doomsday.
Ooh.
A Doomsday? Like D-O-O-N?
Yeah, Doomsday is coming. I have no idea what it's about, but there's a soup can on the cover.
Okay.
That's all I
We
know
got
about
a toast to a soup can.
Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah,
I'll link
we love a food on the book cover.
Yes, true. How did everyone read it? Did anyone read it audio or physical? I read it in physical form. I read
physical.
I switched between
the two. How was the
Yeah.
audiobook? Did you
the audiobook was good. Yeah.
I also heard good things about the audio too.
Yeah.
I listened to the audio. It was good.
Yeah? Was it a male voice?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
a lot of books from now and then.
True. Nice. All right. Well, I think that now is the time where if you haven't read it, you should probably get off if you don't want to be spoiled. So if you stay, that's your fault. Don't blame us. Give you guys a couple minutes before you leave so that you guys can all leave because I don't want anyone to be spoiled. Oh, Sophie's leaving because she hasn't read it. Sad. But dang it.
I hope you like it.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so favorite characters. Or yeah. Out of the group, who was your favorite character?
Lucy.
I think
was
Lucy
my
as well.
Yeah.
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 And I really like Max as well.
I did too. Max is
I
the
like
one that
Max
likes
too.
the cape, right? He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He
pure.
was my favorite. I loved him. He was so cute and adorable and just totally nerdy. There were definitely kids. I went to an arts high school, a public school for the arts, very small. We had a graduating class of 83, and there were definitely kids I knew, like Max, who wore weird shit to school every day. I went to a school that allowed that though, so there was no issues with it. But man, he was my favorite.
I really
but
liked Eden too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Eden
I
was
like
fun.
Eden too.
yeah, I did too. I mean, they all felt very individual.
Yeah.
You give her credit for that. they all had very distinct characteristics.
Yeah, it's one of those books where, like, if you were to pick up a random piece of dialogue from one of the characters, like, you'd be able to know who said it, which I think is a really awesome thing.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of my biggest pet peeves about YA contemporary a lot of times is that they all sound the same. Like, every character sounds very similar, at least in a lot of times, not always, of course, but
That's
I
very
have
true.
I have to say also, listening to it on audio, because it was well written with the distinction of each character, there was no loss in saying like who's saying this to who and whatever else. It was done really, really well.
Nice. Did they do like voices and stuff, the narrator?
Sometimes.
I can't remember. It's been so long.
It's been too long. Too many audiobooks in between. Man.
Sometimes there was that when he kind of was coming, like speaking from like Lucy's POV, or you know, that he did kind of put a certain inflection on his voice, but
nice. Okay, how about this question? What was everybody's favorite scene? And then after I'll ask least favorite. My favorite scene was when, it's been so long I don't even remember character names. Michael is the main character, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
My favorite scene was when Michael yelled at his dad, like towards the end, when he finally said it. Oh, I had been waiting and waiting for like all of this angst to build into a point when he was actually going to yell at his parents. Like, I was just so excited for it. That was my favorite scene.
That was a good scene.
Yeah, I love that scene too, especially because I was just like, he was just right in some ways. I mean, he didn't necessarily express himself in the best ways, but at the same point, he had good points. Like, he was right.
Yes.
He wasn't freaking out to freak out.
I think I also love that scene because, like, the dad needed to open up his eyes to, like, realize what his choices he's doing is how it's creating issues with his kids, even if they're not necessarily saying them all the time.
I also loved when they had, like, a conversation. He and his dad had a conversation after that about how, like, he grew up without a lot, so he's always constantly trying to provide that for his kids without realizing that because of that, he's taking away so much else.
Yeah, that was a really important scene, too.
I liked most of the scenes that he had with his father, especially when they were making the candy cane, because you could see the relationship they had before all of this trouble. And it's just like, oh, it's there. It's just that let's clear all the problems away so you can talk about it. That
was so cute.
Yeah.
I loved that scene too. Oh man, I think I changed my mind. That's my favorite scene. Anybody else have one?
I don't know if this was said because my internet lagged for a moment, but I don't know if I have like a favorite scene because I have a lot of favorite scenes. But like a scene that I really loved is the very beginning when Lucy is challenging the nun in class.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is like she's like spitting all these like facts. Like, girl brought receipts for all of these different things. Who like did all of these things and literally would have rather died than follow the rules. And I loved it. Like, that was the moment I fell in love with Lucy, her very first scene.
That is a really good scene. That scene made me, I think, my expectations too high for the rest of the book, though. I think that's what messed me up. Because it was such a good scene, and I was like, yes, we're going to get some feminism and some crazy shit going on. And then it just kind of dissipated rather than building up for me.
I agree with you.
I really liked it when Eden actually called Lucy out on all this stuff as well. Because it was just like, I think that was one of my favorites.
Were the confrontations.
Yeah,
basically all the confrontations were amazing.
I really loved that they all like challenged each other to check themselves and to really like respect each other's point of views. Like, I thought it was a very healthy dynamic among all of them because like they were able to have these discussions that could honestly go so bad, but they were able to have them in a way where like all sides were valid and each person did hear the other in the end. So I really thought that was cool.
Yeah, I liked it too.
And I also love Lucy and Michael together. That's his name, right? Michael. I just forgot.
Yeah.
For a second. No, I love them together. So I loved when he told her like all this speech about how he cared about her, and then she just grabbed him and kissed him.
Yes,
And then,
Yeah.
in the bathroom.
yes. And the final scene, I mean, it just broke me. I was just like, oh, I mean, she's not a priest, but at least she gets to pretend to be one just for a second. It was just like the perfect ending scene. I loved it.
I also, sorry.
No, you can go.
I really liked pretty much every scene with Michael's sister Sophia in it. I thought I could just have an entire book with Sophia, to be fair.
Yeah. I loved
She
her.
reminded me a lot of Kitty from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I need to read those books so bad.
I've only read the first one. I actually didn't love it, but I really loved Kitty.
Read the second one.
The
Read the
younger
second one.
sister. She's
Come over, let's watch it again.
Did everyone answer favorite scene?
I think so.
Yep.
Okay. Proud Book Lion asked thoughts on Teresa Ambrose and her character arc.
Can you?
I
Who
don't
is
even
she
remember
again?
who that is. Yeah.
Is
The main
she?
girl.
Oh, she's the one who like tries to get Heretics Anonymous. She's the one who's like close to
That was
the
the
mind.
crusade.
Oh yeah.
You know what
Like,
she
she's the one
reminded
that, like,
me
had
of?
the Crusaders.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
reminded me of the character of Amanda Bynes in Easy A.
Yes.
Mhm.
It was just like I could only picture her like that. I was just like, oh, I want to kill you.
That is a
Absolutely.
perfect description. Yes.
I feel
Yeah.
like she's one of the reasons why I didn't enjoy this as much as I could have, because it was so angsty. Like
Yeah.
it was so much, and like maybe it's because I'm not a religious person, so like I've never like stood up for my religious beliefs the way that she was, but like it was a lot for me. It was a lot.
She reminded me of me, but not in the religious sense because I've never been religious, but like I would have been that person. Like she's a like a teacher's pet. Like that part of it. I was like, wow. Thanks for the mirror I didn't need or want.
I felt like she was acting like a kid, not like a teenager, you know? Like she was acting
true.
like I acted like that in elementary school.
True,
You know? Like,
yeah. She did feel
She
young.
seemed very petulant. Like she just was like, why?
Yeah.
But there was a great thing with it afterward, well, later on in the book, where everything kind of like blew up. When Eden actually said that she noticed that Teresa seemed lonely, and just brought to realization that they've affected everyone in the school with what happened, not just people that were on the heretic side. It was a case of even the people that kind of, you know, yay God, were affected by what they did as well.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember somebody gives us like a kind of like a history of her family. I don't really remember what they said, but I really liked that they
I think
humanized
Lucy
her.
does.
Is it
because they were
Lucy?
like talking about how she, like, her family were like really, like, I don't want to say extreme Catholics. They were really devout Catholics. That's
Right,
the
they
word
like
I'm
don't
looking
have
for.
TV
And they like
or anything.
moved from
They're
another
fanatics.
parish and all of that.
Yes, I do remember now. Yeah, they're like really, really strict. Like I really liked getting to hear that. I almost wish that we had gotten it from her though. Like,
Yeah.
whether it was a one-on-one with Lucy or a one-on-one with Michael, or just like I didn't matter how, but I kind of wish that we had been told that from her rather than like a side note.
But I don't think it would have really worked though, because of the way that she was written. She was very proud about everything.
True.
So I don't think she would have actually had that moment of openness with anyone.
Right. Like I don't know how it would have happened, but I think I just
Well, yeah.
yeah.
It definitely made it easier to understand her because it was just like all of these people are like attacking something that you've known all your life and you've been told all your life is the absolute truth.
Mhm.
But at the same point, like if you think about it, she has to be kind of frustrated because it was also like everything that they were saying was really logical. So it was like, this is logic, but this is what I've been told. And so I'm sure like the cognitive dissonance in her head was driving her crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Book Line reminded me that her siblings were all homeschooled and she had to fight to get to that school. Like,
Oh yeah.
that was
Damn, I read this book
the
so long ago.
I know. I need to like figure out how to make the live shows earlier so that they're closer to when we read them. Go ahead.
Oh, what I was thinking about the whole time I was reading this is like, because I'm not a religious person, I'm really curious how this would sit with, I don't know if any of you ladies are religious or if you're comfortable talking about that, but I'm just really curious, like, how someone who is Catholic would feel about this.
I agree. I wish that are any of you guys religious? Or, and want to talk about it?
Yeah.
I can give you a little insight. I used to be very religious, but that was like when I was in high school. So I don't think I would have been like Lucy at all because I wasn't like a fanatic. We call them fanatics here. But I did go to a Catholic school, and my family is very Catholic. So I did like connect with a lot of the stuff that they were saying, but at the same time, since I'm not religious anymore, it's just like I can see both sides. And I've met so many people like Teresa or like all of the other students in the school that I was just like, okay, this is very I wouldn't say normal for me, but I would say like, okay, this is genuine. I feel like this book got that part correct and it's truthful. Mm-hmm.
I will say my mom read Heretics Anonymous. And she went to Catholic school like her entire life until like her last 2 years of high school. And like her entire life, she's been very Catholic and she really enjoyed it. So I know that she didn't, she's not the type of Catholic like Teresa or anything. But she really enjoyed it and found it like funny and relatable. So.
Nice.
I mean, I've met a lot of, oh, sorry.
I think there is a lot of, especially when you talk about religion, there is a massive gamut of people which are like, a little religious to how we'd say extremely religious. So it's just one of those like,
a whole spectrum.
Yeah. And it's like someone, well, you could have someone reading it from the lower spectrum and saying, yeah, I really liked it, and then the other side of the spectrum has been like, yeah, I hated it, or vice versa. It's just, you never know.
Well, yeah, I mean, people who they won't read any fiction because every fictional book makes them mad because it doesn't follow the word of whichever religion that they follow. So like there are definitely people out there who I'm sure this would be offensive towards them if they think a book that isn't about their religion is also offensive.
But there's someone like that for every book. So
yeah, exactly. My great grandma used to yell at me because I had a Harry Potter tattoo, and so she'd be like, "You're going to hell," and I'd be like, "Why is that?"
Oh my
She's
god!
Like, because you have the word of the devil on your ear. I'm like, okay.
Well, at least it wasn't word of the devil. I remember when I was in a Catholic group, they told me like every tattoo was like.
Oh, that's pretty much what she believed. Then on top of it was Harry Potter, and Harry Potter is literally the word of the devil.
How dare you!
The worst thing you could have done.
She also called my fiance a commie because he's bald. I mean,
oh my god,
Grandma.
She's hilarious. I miss her. She passed away a few years ago now.
But come get you, Grandma.
She was like 96 years old when she died. She was amazing. We would go over there.
She held nothing back.
Grandparents with no filter. Love it.
Man, she had no filter about lots of stuff. I mean, she was a white woman from the South, and she was 96, so she had some thoughts about certain things.
Oh, Grandma.
There was a time, and she was in a nursing home. This is a lot of information for the public internet, but whatever. I don't have secrets. So she was living in like the LA area, right? She was in a nursing home. So there's all sorts of people of color working at this nursing home. And so she said something like, "Oh, he's my favorite nurse." And I said, "Oh yeah, that's good." And she was like, "And he's a N-word." And I was like, "Okay, All right,
my
and he was there. He was right there. He was in the room. I was like, Beanie. I called her Beanie. I'm like, shh, stop talking. Just be quiet.
Oh my god.
You
Inappropriate.
just have to go, kind of go, yes, Grandma. It's okay."
Exactly. I don't know how we got here. I don't know where we went. Back home
Anyway, Heretics Anonymous.
I feel like what else helped balance out the strong religious themes of the book as to like not offend people, like specifically Catholic people, because you have Lucy, who is like a devout Catholic, and I feel I also grew up Catholic, and I felt that she was a very fair representation of what it means to be a Catholic. You know, there's obviously so many different ways to be Catholic that people live by, but I think that she was treated respectfully, and it wasn't just a book from the perspective of an atheist, like bashing Catholic school. Like I think Lucy's character really helped that be a little bit more balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved her perspective because even though I'm not a religious person, I really like to hear people be able to hold their religion while still being critical of certain practices within whatever religion that they hold. I really loved Lucy and her ability to like, yeah, I'm a Catholic and I'm devout and I want to be a priest, but here's what issues I have with this same religion that I feel very strongly positively towards. Like I really just loved that, like almost dichotomy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would like
also
to
really
add
liked that
that.
a lot of it was just like it was challenging, not necessarily insulting a lot of the times. It was like, I don't understand how like we can say this and tell you that this is true when like science or anything like that says all of this. Like it was more challenging than it was insulting. Although there was definitely some times where they bordered on insulting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like based on my experience, I believe that most of Catholic people I've met also challenge religion in some way. So that's why I don't think a lot, unless they are like extremely Catholic, that get offended with anything.
For anything.
I don't think that a regular Catholic would get offended with this book, because there are things that we have talked about and we say like, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but well, that's our religion.
Right.
Has anyone seen the Kevin Smith film Dogma?
Yes, I love that movie.
No, I haven't.
Because it's like he got a lot of flack for that, because it's like, you know, he's Catholic, he was raised Catholic, and it was just a case of it's like he made that film and it was a case of it's like he's not bashing Catholicism, it's his way of kind of praising it, but just highlighting that there is stuff that he sees wrong with it, but he's still a part of that faith.
Was that banned? A banned film?
No,
It very easily could be, but
it could have been.
No, I'm asking because here they ban everything. So I like
It's
Heretics Anonymous is not available here just because I don't think it's translated to Spanish.
Oh.
But even if it was, I think that people would start a petition for it to get
To ban it.
It would not surprise me if Dogma has been banned, because it's Kevin Smith, so like it's comedic and it's fucked up comedy with the topic being Catholicism. So
Oh
no. Yeah. Snape is in it. What's his name? I don't remember that.
Alan
actor.
Rickman?
Alan
Yeah.
Rickman.
Yeah.
Severus Snape.
Yeah.
I
He
was like
plays the voice
reminded
of
yesterday
God.
that Alan Rickman died, and I cried a little once again, and it was just awful.
Same.
Yeah.
But Alanis Morissette played God, so
Yeah.
down for that.
Yeah. He played God, and then Alan Rickman plays the voice of God. Like
Metatron.
I mean,
Oh.
it's understandable.
Chelsea, were you trying to say something earlier?
I was just
when
gonna say,
were
because you were
talking?
talking about books that feature religion. Have you read? God, I can't remember what it's called. So now I'm like trying to talk about it. The Emery Lord book, one of her newest release. It's about like this girl whose family is religious. Like her parents are, I don't know if it's preachers or.
Is it the one with the TV show one? The one where she gets pregnant? It was a Book of the Month book.
No. That's the Book of Essie, but that's a similar thing. But Shit, what
When
was
We
it called?
Collided.
Not When We Collided. It's another. Yeah,
The
it's on my
Start
shelf,
of
but
Me
it's
and You, Open Road Summer, The Names They Give Us.
The Names They Give Us, or The Names They Gave Us, whatever. That one's about a girl
Oh, yeah,
whose
isn't that the
family is
one-
religious,
Yeah,
and
and
she
isn't like her mom dying of cancer or something?
yes,
Aww.
and it features religion. So if you like to read books that
Oh.
have like a different like walk of life from you,
Mm-hmm.
it was okay. I didn't hate it.
I really like Autobiography by Christina Lauren.
Yeah,
And that
read
one deals with the
that.
Mormon faith. And my
I
family,
still-
like part of my family is Mormon, and it dealt with it so well. I was so amazed of like dealing with like the issues of being LGBTQ, but also sticking to Mormon faith it was amazing.
Nice.
it's a really really good read. Have you read it, Cassie? You'd love it.
Autobiography?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not read it yet, but every time a booktuber talks about it, I'm just like, oh, I really need to read that one.
I still need.
So good.
I still need to read it.
Dang
I
it.
feel like you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I get. Isn't that Christina Lauren's? That's
Yes.
one of theirs, right? So every other book by Christina Lauren, when I hear their synopsis, I'm like, eh. But that's one where I'm like, okay, I'm into
It's
that.
completely like leaps and bounds different from anything they've ever written.
Right, because
it's-
normally
it's
they
so
I
write
got my
different.
heart out and stomped on it until it was like a bajillion little pieces, but also made me so happy at the same time.
Okay, nice. Okay, so everyone's least favorite scene.
I think my favorite and least favorite are kind of the same. It's the one that you said where like it's the big blowout with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like I get it. I totally get it. Like the dad did not see like how much destruction he was causing. Not destruction, it's a little dramatic, but like you know what I'm trying to say.
Destruction.
But also, gosh, Michael's just so angsty.
Mhm.
So angsty. Hard for me. I think
Where
it's
he was
because I-
having a conversation with his penis was just not necessary.
What? Whoa. When did that happen? What
That's
was that?
hilarious, in my opinion.
I do not remember a conversation with his penis. I don't remember that.
It happened. It happened.
I'm looking like I'm not gonna find it. But
Dang it.
It's right after the sleepover when he wakes up.
When she's waking him up and he has morning wood.
Yeah.
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 Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Yeah, sometimes the sexual content in the book, sometimes I was like, man, like the amount of times he talked about like wanting to have sex with Lucy. I'm like, I get it. Like he's a teenage boy. I understand that he's probably totally thinking this, but I'm like, we gotta talk about it all the time.
having said that, it's like on page 19, the word finger bang was used, and I was like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, so we're setting it up early.
We're just setting the tone early.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find that.
oh, okay, I think I found it. Hold on. Where's he? Hold on. I know. I'm at the part where he wakes up
Oh.
next to her. Is that what it is?
No, the finger bane scene is number 9,
Oh.
page 19. Hey,
Yeah.
Lucy, says the boy ahead of her in line, who I recognize from history. He has his arm wrapped all the way around a pretty girl's waist, looking like a possessive toddler with a teddy bear. Are we ever going to have a class where you don't go off on some feminist rant? The girl beside him giggles. I don't know, Connor, Lucy says, examining a bottle of salad dressing. Are we ever going to have an assembly where you don't try to finger bang your girlfriend in the back of the auditorium? Okay.
I loved that though.
Me too.
Because I live in an area next to a Catholic school, and like those kids are literally like the worst. Like they're the most into drugs. They're the most like having crazy unprotected sex. Like I swear to God, there's a
It's
like
completely true.
notice about like a new pregnant
Yeah.
girl every week, and it's just like these Catholic kids. It's crazy.
I
Totally,
wasn't Catholic, but I was that kid. So.
So I read that I remember that spot very specifically because I remember somebody saying the exact same thing to me and my boyfriend. And I was like, just shut up and stop embarrassing me.
Stop putting me on blast, book.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know me like that? Shit.
Too much.
You don't know my life.
High school is such a weird time. You have no privacy. You have no spots for you and your boyfriend to go. So you just like make out and finger bang at the movie theater and just like right there. It's really weird. Why does that happen? Like inappropriate.
You look back on it now and you just go, I don't.
You know, I think back to high school and I get so like anxious and sweaty and like just because of like who I was. Ugh,
it's such a weird time.
I think I've just permanently deleted those files from my memory. I'm just like, no.
Like it's been 8 years, but it still haunts me.
Yes, it's too close to home. Yeah. Okay, least favorite scene. I think my least favorite scene is what happens. Well, there's like, it's like the combination of basically like every time Michael is too angsty to listen to his group members, like he goes and gets those files even though everyone agrees that they're not going to. And
right after he promised her, like, nothing's gonna get out of control, I promise. And then the next line is just like, and then I grabbed the files.
As soon as that was written,
we discussed that we're not going to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, just in case.
Yeah,
just in case.
I was like, come on, Michael, get your shit together. You made a promise.
And like you knew it was going to go downhill when it happened. Like you knew they were going to get used.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the scene at the end when he actually puts them up. Like, even though I understood where his mind was.
That was
like
my least favorite scene.
Yeah.
I think I would have had less issue with it if he hadn't like broken a display case and like spray painted everything. If he had just hung up the posters, it would have been like, okay, whatever. But like the destruction of school property, no.
Yeah, but he was so mad. Like,
yes, but it was it was ridiculous reasons though.
I'm not saying it was logical.
It was pure teen. Seriously.
I mean,
you're not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. You're not wrong. Yeah, that's my least favorite, I think.
I think.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say also I like the ending of that, like with the climax where like Michael like posts the things and then there's all these terrible repercussions and the other girl is getting called in to be a part of it and everyone hates him, and it's just like that whole part just like gives me a knot in my stomach because it obviously needed to happen for the story to progress, and I think everyone saw it coming that he was going to do that, but like just having to like follow Michael through all the repercussions of it was really hard for me to read because like obviously like I respect like, you know, that Michael is a sort of like unlikable character attorney. He does things for us not to agree with him, but just seeing the way that so many people were hurt by it and that he actually did realize like the weight of what he did as well in the end, it was just really tough to read. It made me sad. The whole book was like so lighthearted, and then I feel like at that point it just like something hit and it was like really heavy for a hot minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just feel like there's so many like better things he could have done to get his anger out that wouldn't have like caused mass destruction and like the entire like sanctity of everything that they had built and every relationship he had at that point.
I actually am changing my mind. My least favorite scene, or like I guess it's not even a scene, it's a thing that happens in a scene, is actually when the dad takes takes that astronaut or whatever it is and like throws it, like he like puts it in a box or something.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, no.
He like takes all of Michael's stuff.
Yeah. Like doesn't he like, I want to say he like wipes the whole desk like and shoves everything into a box, but maybe it wasn't as dramatic as that. Like I totally get taking away technology when you're in trouble, but I was just like, why are you taking away like sentimental stuff? Like take away the technology. I mean, yeah, I get him in trouble, but
did he like take the door off his room?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But
I just feel like projecting my own childhood at that point. But totally something my parents would have done was like take a door off my room.
no,
Is that
I
something
would've-
that happens a lot?
No, I
mean,
don't remember a door being taken off.
I've never heard of that happening here, so I'm curious.
Oh, I mean, I've heard of people
so mad
having
at us
that
for
happen.
slamming our doors that they would take our door off the hinges so we didn't have a door to slam.
Goodness gracious, what were you doing?
I once got everything taken out of my room. It's like literally everything out of the
I had
room.
that threatened so many times because they were like, if you don't clean your room, we're just going to take everything and then there's going to be nothing left.
Pretty
Oh my
much.
gosh.
My parents were very tame.
Yeah,
Like the most I got was give me your phone. And maybe
I
your
never got
laptop,
that.
too, but-
I just
I
had
think
a
by the time I had a cell phone, I had figured it out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't have even. Chelsea said she had a curfew, but I didn't even have a curfew. Like,
Oh, I had a curfew in the beginning.
My town had a curfew.
I mean, we technically have a town curfew. I
Yeah,
think.
we had a 10 p.m. curfew.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone under the age of 18 has to be
Wow.
like on their own property by 10 o'clock.
Do you live in the city from
Wow.
Footloose?
I know, right?
Sounds like a movie
Basically,
to
I
me.
mean, I live in a town with 700 people and we have 7 churches.
Oh my gosh.
Plenty of room for
Oh,
everyone.
Make sure there's room to grow.
And there is a church for everyone. If you want, we don't have a Scientology church. I think that's the one that we're missing.
I live like 2 blocks from a Scientology church.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one, Chelsea. It's huge.
Humongous.
I've only
I went to
driven
go
by
to like a
one.
meeting at a church the other day and I like pulled in and I was like, I don't think this is the right church. And then I was like, nope, wrong street corner. This is the Scientology church.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my gosh.
That's crazy. So I want to talk about the scene where they get sex education.
Oh, purity call.
That was awesome.
Oh my god.
I mean, the video was awesome, but the thing with the tape that was
the ceremony.
Oh my god.
Yep, I want to talk
know
about
what?
that.
You don't want
That-
to be a
that
dirty piece of tape.
That was my
totally happened.
that was my worst. that was my
really-
worst scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tape is like a real thing that like people do.
Oh yeah.
So like
Ooh.
talk about virginity and it's horrendous. It's
I mean,
horrifying.
And they like target it towards girls. It's like so sexist
Yeah.
too.
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Like it's your job to remain pure.
horrible.
I was part of a Catholic group, and I totally see them doing that. I mean, they didn't, but it's something that they would totally do. And I'm just, when I was reading it, I was just like, this brings so many memories. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit was so frustrating.
That whole thing just like
I
brought
felt,
me
like,
back to sex
disgusted.
education in high school.
Yeah, but then you get the video, and it's just like, well, at least you get some payback.
Yeah, the video was great. I loved the video.
I wanted to see more. I wanted to know what
I
else
love
they
the
did.
edited video.
Mhm. It made me really just like sad to read that scene because, like, I know that it happened. Like, it's not fake. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that shit happens all over the place. Not just like this the tape part, which was like horrifying, but the fact that like that's called sex ed in general. I mean, that happens even in public schools sometimes too. Like, it made me really sad to watch. And like, I loved all of Lucy's commentary coming up to it, like all of her discussion every time she brought it up and everything, and then the editing. And it just made me like, I wanted that rule to change. Like, if they got anything done as Heretics Anonymous, like big picture rule changing stuff, which I guess that was also part of why I was a little bit disappointed with this book, is like they do all this stuff, but like nothing really
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just nothing changed. Like,
What?
I
Tiny
feel like
thing.
it's also like life
Tiny
though.
thing.
what?
The cloak?
Yeah.
Oh, that, yeah. I mean, yeah, like it was a cute moment, but like in the grand scheme of things.
Mm.
Yeah.
I feel like my perspective is that
Chelsea's
like
trying to leave. Hold on.
Yeah, I
on.
gotta go. I'm sorry. I'm
I saw that.
distracted.
Bye.
Bye, guys, at your concert.
Bye.
Have fun.
I was saying my view on the ending, how like things didn't really change, was like sometimes they don't. Like, sometimes you stand up for what you believe in and people don't listen to you, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't speak up anyways. That's the way that I took the ending. But I also get not being satisfied by nothing happening, because like, as readers, we want something to happen. Like, we want like the principal to change his mind and listen to the kids because we agree with them. But that's just the way I saw it. I was like, like this happens a lot, and that's just
it's just hard to change something that has been established for 2,000 years. It's just like, well, at least you got a little bit or something with the Glude thing. But have you watched the movie Created Equal? It deals with this type of topic.
No.
It's about a nun that wants to become a priest, and and since she can't, she sues the Catholic Church because there's nothing that says that she can't be a priest. It's very interesting.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Created Equal. I'm looking it up right now on IMDb. I'm gonna put it in the live chat for everyone if they want to check it out. If they let me. Yeah.
I was really happy with
true.
Go ahead. I was really happy with how when Michael had the talk with Sister Helen about saying, like, well, she's a nun, but like she has a degree in whatever it was. Oh yeah, a degree in like human evolution or something. And it's like, yeah, she's a nun, but it's a case of nothing's perfect, so they're still always going to try and work on it. So I thought it's like, even though it wasn't a clear-cut resolution, it was like it's something that is going to be constantly worked on as we go through. And I thought that was more realistic to how the book would work.
Yeah, it definitely, the ending was realistic. It just was disappointing.
I hear you.
That's the same thing with, I recently, well, relatively this year, read The Order of Nature by Josh, I think. It's a self-published book, and it's about this American guy who goes to live in the Gambia, which is a country in Africa, and he's gay, and in the Gambia, being gay is super illegal, and he doesn't think anything of it because he's volunteering there for a couple years, and he's like, well, it's not like they're going to find out. But then he falls in love with a Gambian man, and so they're hiding their relationship throughout the book. And from the beginning of the book, you know that they get caught because you're watching the dual perspective. So you don't know how that ends, but you know that at some point they're gonna get caught. And
what's the name of this book?
The Order of Nature. I'll write it in the live chat.
Okay.
It's just it's a very like hopeless ending. Like, I loved it, and I do recommend it, but like it does not end with any sort of like happy. So it's just
that's a shame.
Yeah. So like this book is much less serious on that front, but it still ends with like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, this is how it works. Like, I guess that's all it is. Yeah. Okay, so we talked a little bit about that sex ed scene, which was, man, such a great and horrible scene at the same time.
Yes.
Oh gosh. And then we talked about favorite scenes. Did we talk about least favorite scenes? We did, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we talk about Michael's relationship with his father? Like, did you guys did anyone else like completely understand why he was so upset?
Yes. Absolutely.
I've never been in that position, but like absolutely, like I totally hear Michael's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that like I identified with, so like that just like really brought me into the situation, was when they had to wait to eat because his dad was on the phone.
Oh,
they were just like
I
sitting
related
there,
so much
and
with
he's
that
like,
scene.
"Oh my gosh, like you're never here because like when you're here, you're always on the phone." And I was like, I've been there, done that.
Mm-hmm.
And I I wanted Michael's mom to say something so bad. Like, she was this meek little housewife throughout the whole thing, and I was like, no, stand your ground. I wanted her to, like, have a moment, and I don't think she did.
No.
Well, I did love the scene with her explaining the peanut butter and jelly. Well, I guess that's more his dad.
He explained it, I think.
Does he end up explaining it? He like yells at his mom about it though, or something. And I loved getting that information about like it wasn't her like giving him special treatment. It was her knowing the history of her husband. Like I really loved that. But I agree. Why didn't she ever say anything? Like you're moving your children around. Oh my gosh, so irritating. It was so
but we slaved over this meal, and now you're gonna let it go cold because he is on the phone. Like, no, eat your damn food.
Maybe that's my least favorite scene. Man, I have more than one favorite.
Yeah, I was really frustrated by the mom too.
Yeah, and and frustrated by the dad. Like, how do you not see the ridiculousness of what you're saying? And then
let's just move them to Belgium.
On top of the phone and the late to dinner and then all that stuff, he then gets mad at Michael for being on his phone. Yes. I have literally had that argument with my stepdad before when I was still in high school. My stepdad, we were all at dinner, like at my house. We were eating dinner at a dinner table, which wasn't very common for us. We usually ate separately, but we're sitting at dinner. He was on his phone. My mom was on her phone, and I was on my phone. And then they both happened to put their phones down at the same time and start eating. And I wasn't done texting whatever I was doing. And my stepdad yelled at me to tell me to put my phone away. And I was like, no. And then he was like, excuse me, what do you think you're doing? Blah, blah, blah. You know, normal dad reaction. And I was like, your phone is in your hand. No, I'm not putting my phone away unless you put yours away. And then my mom said, she has a point. And so then we all put our phones away. That was the agreement. But that was a long time ago.
I was brought up in a household of as you do as I say, you don't do as I do. Yeah.
That never really
my dad always had like the understanding that like you model the behavior you want out of your kids. Like my dad didn't even swear in front of my brother and I until I was like 16 or 17 years old when he was just like, I don't care anymore. Like y'all are gonna swear whatever.
Yeah, my parents were also really into swearing. And so I remember the rule was even if we swear, we never swear at you. So I expect the same. Like you don't get to call me a bitch, basically. You can say the cuss words. And also I'm not saving you if you say them at school. That was also another rule where like you're on your own.
My brother made a deal with my mom because she was like swearing. She started swearing more as we got older, but I was still like 10. And so my brother was like 12 or 13 and he would get in trouble for swearing, but my mom would still do it. And so he told her once, he was like, every time you say a swear word, I get to stop wherever we are and scream the same word at the top of my lungs. And he did it in the middle of the mall once.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Yeah.
I think I might have to use that as a parenting hack because I'm really trying hard not to swear because my toddler is now trying to learn to talk.
Aha!
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just like, and soon as my first words were, fuck it, I
oh my God, that's so funny.
Like in the Meet the Fockers, where the little baby says, asshole. And the judge is like, no.
So really try to, like, not swear so much. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard when it's that habit. Can we also talk about Lucy and Michael's relationship?
I think they're cute.
No. I like how they get together.
Yeah.
I like that scene. Oh, but I also want to include not only Lucy and Michael's relationship, but how what's his face like reacts to Michael. What is his name? Not
Abby?
Yeah, Avi. Yeah, Abby.
Oh, I loved him. I think they're cute. I like how they really got each other to open up about their family issues. Like, I think that Lucy's family situation was like a really complex addition to the story, and I loved it. And I loved how Michael helped her to realize that like it's okay for her to do things for herself, and she doesn't have to like mother her siblings all the time. Like she's allowed to be a teenager. And so I don't know if I'm like remembering something incorrectly. I feel like there was a scene where like one of them brought something to the other person's house. Was it like Michael wanted to cook for her or something? Like I thought that was so cute. I just think they're adorable.
I love that she gave him like an annotated Bible for Christmas, and then he read it.
So
that was amazing.
I thought that was weird, but also I'm just not religious. So I was like, why?
I just love that scene.
Yeah, but then he got her perfume. I was like,
he kind of failed in the gift-giving area.
yeah, really.
But I thought it was so
many
funny.
religious people in their Bibles, you can learn so much about like how they see themselves and their religion and how they like relate to everything by reading them because they have all these notes in them, and it's like a part of their brain is in your hands. It's so cool. And so like the fact that she gave that to him and wanted to share that with him was amazing.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about it that way because I don't know, like I'm not religious, my family's not, and I didn't really have any friends who were super religious either. So like I was just like, why are you giving him
Are you trying to convert him?
Yeah, that was where my mind was. I was like, I don't know about this. But that's an interesting take. I mean, I guess they did talk about it, but it just didn't like resonate with me because I don't know anything about it. So
But it's just that scene was very cute. I mean, or funny as well, because when he just opened the door thinking it was the FedEx guy and he was just in his pajamas and it was the first time that she saw her. That she saw him without his uniform. That part was that he was so embarrassed. It was so cute.
it was
so
adorable.
Cute. I loved it.
I think that the only scene between them that I didn't like was when they were talking about sex and they started talking about all the states. And I was just like, I think this is supposed to be funny, but it's just so weird.
Like, I feel like there's better ways that we can explain this other than like using a map.
For sure.
Well,
especially because they were very bad at geography.
In Grey's Anatomy, there's a scene where she talks about the mountains versus a valley. And
yes, I remember
it
that.
reminded me of that scene where I think it's Dr. Bailey and Callie Torres, but Dr. Bailey is like, if he wants to go to Africa or whatever, and then Callie is like, you're going too far. You lost me.
She was just like, just spell it out. Like, we are doctors. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I think they started talking about like getting shots before you go to a foreign country and things. I'm like, whoa.
I think one of the things that like I carried on like through my childhood that like stuck with me, and I don't remember if it was something that we learned in like sex ed or something that my parents told me, but they're like, if you can't talk about sex outright, you shouldn't be having sex.
Yeah,
like if you need to use euphemisms and like the states to explain everything, you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing from somewhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that general truth, general rule. Yeah, I loved Lucy and Michael together. How do they end up resolving things at the end? Somebody remind me.
Because she found out that he read her Bible.
Oh, okay.
When he like said something that was like from her Bible, and she was like, "Oh my God, you read it!"
But also because he said like he wanted to confess to her, and they went to this. I don't remember how you call it. In
oh yeah,
English.
and she gets to put it in the.
Yeah, she starts saying all the things.
That scene.
Yeah, that was really cute.
I really liked that scene.
How did you guys feel about the teacher that was fired, and then her response to everything that's going on?
It frustrated me, like the fact that they fired her, and like I totally understood like the heretics wanting to point out all of the hypocrisies, but
it reminded me.
No.
The teacher, she said that like she appreciated their help, but like didn't want it or something, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Which,
just
like, I
wanted
totally
it to be
understood,
over.
because if they were gonna fire you for that, do you really want to continue working there anyway?
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I saw it too.
Yeah, and I think the teacher was also a case of, well, this is just going to make it's just going to make more trouble for you trying to help me when nothing's going to change about it. So
Yeah.
They're just kind of like, I'm okay. I don't need teenagers to try and save me or whatever. Like, I'm adult. I can figure it out.
Yeah,
It was also kind of annoying that they like only fired her when she got married.
Mhm. I wished, even though she, like, the choice to not want to come back made sense, and, like, not wanting the petition or whatever, but, like, I wish that she had been more, like, supportive of them, like, wanting to change the rule. Like, even if she didn't personally want to come back, like, you're doing the right thing by doing this, so, like, keep going, like, giving them words of support, even if she didn't really want it to be about her, I guess.
Yeah, saving someone else from the same situation.
Yeah. Because that's fucked. Did any of you guys go, even though we talked about Catholic schools specifically, and I think no one went to a Catholic school.
Me.
Am I wrong?
No.
Me.
Christina did. Okay. But did anybody go to, like, oh, somebody's echoing. Did anybody go to any, like, strict schools where, like, there were a lot of, like, clothing rules? Like, they talked about that at one point. That reminded me a lot of Moxie, even though it's not.
Oh, it totally reminded me of Moxie too. I thought the same thing when I read that scene with the ties. I was like so similar to Moxie.
Yes, like putting it in the lockers and stuff. Like, did anybody, well, I mean, we could talk about just what's in the book too, but, like, did anybody experience rules like that where while at school?
I mean, my
like,
school had, like, the standard stupid rules, with especially when it came to, like, shorts for girls and, like, dresses and stuff. We had those, and we oftentimes, like there was several days a year where we would just point out all of the hypocrisies in them. Where, like, because if you were a bigger girl or you had bigger boobs, you would get in trouble for wearing the same shirt that someone who's, like, smaller wouldn't. Or, like we had the subjective rule of your shorts had to come down to your fingertips, which was, like, the worst thing in the world. So we did all of that, but there was at least one day a year where we would give the guys our clothes and they would wear girls' clothes all day and never get in trouble for it. And we're just like, these are the outfits we have been removed from school for. Like, what is going on?
That's a really cool thing to do. That's awesome. We only had the fingertip rule, which I always got in trouble for because I have really long legs and not so short, not so long.
What is that?
Like,
your shorts had to come down to the end of your fingertips.
So your
you had long nails. They would get you for that too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Your shorts can't be shorter, and you had to lower your. But, like, girls could do this.
Of course.
Like, and so I always got in trouble because my fingertips go really low because I have a short torso and long legs. So, like, that my fingertip length is, like, half my thigh. But, like, so many girls were like, "Here's my fingertip."
Yeah, right.
It's like, no, that's not how it works for me. Why is that?
See, I think it's more of a British thing that pretty much at school we have to wear uniforms. So
it's mainly private schools.
Yeah.
In the U.S. Or, like, I think there's some public schools where there's, like, a large discrepancy between, like, students and their socioeconomic statuses. Like, if it crosses between, like, a really high class area and a really lower class area, they'll use uniforms to, like, prevent people from, like, telling the difference, even though you still totally can.
Yeah, you definitely can. But that's my city. The city I live in, all elementary schools, all middle schools have a dress code that you have to wear, like, a certain color bottom and a certain color top. Most of the time you have to wear a collar, short sleeve or long sleeve. And, like, you also have a certain rule about jackets. Like, you can't wear hoods. If you're wearing a hood, you cannot put it up over your head. You have to wear it down. You're not allowed to wear anything that has a bigger than a dime logo. So you can't have anything big. And that's because the city that I live in used to have a lot of gang violence. It doesn't really anymore, but it used to.
But in your school, do they have rules about how you have to wear your hair and how big your earrings could be, and if you could wear any, like, because my school was like that. I mean, you could only have your hair
like, nail polish
always
you could
dyed,
wear.
always dyed, and also like only like natural colors. So I remember
Yeah,
that there
natural
was
colors.
there was this time where a girl
That
turned
would not
like
have flown at my school.
there was this time a girl dyed her hair purple, and they gave her a hard time for it. So she just decided to buy a wig, and she wore the wig at school, and then she put it on.
That's insane. No, our district doesn't have any sort of rules on hair dye or anything like how to wear it, except for like during PE you have to have it up, but nothing for the rest of the day. Although I do know that in some states and some cities they have had arguments about having your hair in braids and like cornrows and big hair versus small hair, like especially for people of color with
That's terrible. That shit makes me so mad.
Absolutely.
That for sure happens sometimes, but I've never experienced it. I mean, the city that I live in, it has like a high population of non-white, so I feel like they couldn't get away with that shit here.
I live in a very white place, which was like so unfortunate, but yeah, we didn't have many other rules other than like other than the standard ones of like you couldn't wear midriff, but there were just like the guys' rules were so easy because it was just wear a shirt and wear pants. Like that was what you had to do, and yet the girls was like measure every part of your body to make sure that everything is okay. It was mind-boggling.
Well, there was that thing in there was a thing in the news like a while ago with like a girl got sent home because she was like wearing it off the shoulder or something, like it like slipped off her shoulder, and it was just like, no, your collarbone's showing, and it was just like, what?
But there's a part in the book that it says like, oh, I get distracted by your collarbone, said no one ever. That part, when you stated so many things. Oh my god, that was amazing.
Dress codes are strange.
Yes.
And it's really, it's like I understand the whole uniformity of it, but it's a case of like not every body shape is the same. So,
well, and I really like the idea of like kids getting to know themselves by being able to portray it. Like it's so important for kids to be able to self-express. And so like I was saying, I went to an art school. I mean, we didn't have a lot of rules. The one we had to follow was the dime, that we couldn't wear anything with logos bigger than that. But like we didn't have to wear a certain color. We didn't have to wear collared shirts or anything. Like half the time I ran around in a leotard and tights because I was a dancer, so I was always running back and forth. And the lady who like checked our dress codes and stuff, she would always try to get me in trouble because I was wearing a leotard and tights, like I'm essentially in a bathing suit. And I was like, sorry, Miss Yvonne, gotta go to dance class, bye. So I mean, like, we got away with a lot, even though the rules are more strict.
We would get away with things because one of the things that always like ticked off a lot of the people in our school was the fact that like our dress code would say one thing, but then like our school sports uniforms would be the exact opposite of what the dress code was. Like the volleyball players had like these tiny little spandex shorts, and I played field hockey and we had like these tight spandex skirts that we had to wear. So we would like just wear those, and they would try to yell at us, and we're like, "It's a school issued uniform," and then just walk away.
That's essentially how I got away with wearing the leotard all the time, was because I was like, sorry, I have dance class before and after lunch. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not changing. And they never got us in trouble. Rhiannon's here.
Hi.
Yay!
Most awkward of all entrances.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's all good.
We're just happy you're here.
Yeah. We are starting to wrap up, but you should give us your star rating, favorite scene, and least favorite scene.
Okay. I believe I gave it 5 stars.
Oh, and introduce yourself. Tell us your channel. Sorry.
I'm Rhiannon from Crescent Moon Reads, who just started working at a bookstore, hence why I'm so late.
But making money, so that's good.
Yes.
In books.
And I really, really loved the book. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it had like a lot of nuance to it. I'm sure you guys have picked it apart by now. So, but
we still want your insight.
Yeah.
Favorite scene and least favorite scene. I think my favorite scene, because I'm really biased, is when Eden corrects someone who calls her Wiccan. It like
I knew it. The second I read that scene, I was like, Rihanna's gonna like that.
It's just such a constant in my life that I was like so happy that someone was in a book literally saying, no, that's not what I am. Least favorite. I think my least favorite has to be the scene at the dinner table when the dad like takes the call. Like, I was so angry, like because I was frustrated at that. I really related with Michael in that moment because I don't like parents who like put that kind of expectation on their kids but don't like step up themselves in that situation. Because they kind of just say, I'm the parent, so things that don't make sense don't have to make sense because I'm the parent. And you're like, that's not really how this works. So that's probably my least favorite because it made me the most like uncomfortably engaged.
Love it. That's also one of my favorite talks that we were just having that. I was saying, like, I've had that argument with my stepdad when I was in high school. He was on the phone, and then he tried to yell at me about being on the phone, and I was like, no, you're on it too. And then my mom was like, she has a point.
Double standards are not cool.
Totally.
And they're not good to, like, teach your children at all.
That it's okay to be a hypocrite, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, that was pretty much my parents. So I was like pretty much brought up in that. That
was my dad.
Yeah,
that was my dad. But my dad, the bookish babbler said earlier, in my family, dumb was a swear word. Gotta love that religious childhood. Well, my dad was the same way. I remember one time I said crap.
Oh, Lord.
And he yelled at me and was like, that's a bad word. And I was like, I was little, so I didn't actually say this out loud, but I distinctly remember you saying, what a fucking idiot, earlier today when you were talking about the dog. So,
what are you?
Interesting.
Well, I got punished with
not swear in front of us. Like, we had son of an unnamed puppy rather than son of a bitch.
Son of an unnamed puppy. That's cute.
I remember I got punished for I was singing along with something and they swore in the thing and I was just singing along with the lyrics as you do. And then I got punished for swearing for that, even though my parents pretty much used the F-bomb every other word.
Yeah.
It's just like
the one time, like before I was 16, that it was perfectly fine because my dad hated censoring music because he was like, the artist wrote it this way, they intended it to be heard this way, they used that word for a reason, so this is how you're going to experience it.
That's interesting. I like that. That's very forward thinking.
I prefer that by a mile.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of hard rock music, and sometimes you listen to that stuff. If you bleep out every swear word they say, you miss half the song.
Yeah. I know, it's so frustrating. So I'm a substitute teacher for kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. So for middle school, a lot of times I will tell them, like, if you're quiet, I'll put on music, and then we can work and listen to whatever. Like, I don't take requests, but I'll find a playlist on YouTube. But trying to find a clean playlist of popular music.
We had that issue at my college because we put on a concert every year, and this last year we had Waka Flocka Flame come. And in order to, like, encourage, like, when we were selling tickets for it, we'd set up these massive speakers in the student center and we would play the music. And we would only play clean music because it's considered a public forum.
Right.
And so we could get in trouble. But if they bought the tickets, they're like, well, you're not going to censor them at the concert. It's like, yes, but you're paying, so you're consenting.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Between you paying and you not paying.
Yeah, that's why I like, as a sub, I way prefer if I can say, like, you can listen to music with headphones, because then I don't get in trouble if you're listening to bad work. I just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I have the same issue. I teach theater classes, and it's the same thing. Like some warm-ups, you want to play music behind because it's just and it's like, no, you can't.
Nope.
There's basically nothing.
Yeah, even sometimes, like, I remember in acting classes picking up scripts, and, like, we were allowed to cuss if it was in the script. So, like, we could practice that. But then my teacher would get mad at us if we were cussing. So then sometimes she would accidentally yell at us, not realizing we were in a script at the time. And I was just like, Miss Thrasher.
Wow, that name really.
I know. She was amazing. Her name was Miss Thrasher. She had, you know, the like Thrasher brand.
Yes.
I don't even know what they sell, but she has this huge. She still has it to this day. I was recently in her classroom, and it's a huge Thrasher brand, and it's up across her like teacher area, and just so ideal. How'd you end up like that?
Just on brand, quite literally.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Final thoughts on this book?
I love Heretics Anonymous.
I would like to add. I would like to add that.
I'm just gonna keep saying it until every person in the world has read it.
Was it
No,
Christina saying
what?
to add something?
Yeah, I
Was it you
to add
saying?
that one of my favorite things of this book was the diversity because it didn't feel forced. It felt very genuine, and besides, like, we had diversity in every form or way because we had diversity of religion. And then we had Lucy, who was Colombian, which was one of my favorite things.
Yeah,
because my mom is Colombian, so I was just like, gotcha, girl. And then we had diversity in sexuality, so it felt so good. It was so good.
I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it was really nice that we saw something like religiously diverse because I don't see that very often.
No.
Yes.
Not even broached. So I really liked that we had like people from all sorts of different, like, you know, my family, I come from a Jewish family, and then of course pagan was very important to me. So like seeing those things in a book is like really, I don't know.
I feel like so often in books it's like the characters are either religious or they're not religious.
Yeah.
But there's
no in between.
different ways to practice the religion.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times when it comes to like religious diversity, like in YA, I feel like we're getting to a point where like we don't always have like the token character anymore. You know, there's a variety of main characters with different sexualities or different ethnicities, but I feel like there's always, when it comes to religion, like because it's a pretty taboo topic in YA and not a lot of authors like writing about it because it can be so controversial. There's usually only like one character who is like Jewish or Muslim, and we don't often see a lot of other ones, let alone multiple in one story. So I thought it was really great that like pretty much all of the heretics had their own beliefs, and they were, you know, some of them were more diverse than we see even in like the bigger name stories that do have other sorts of religion. So I thought it was really, really cool.
I think it was a really smart move as well to have the protagonist be an atheist.
Yeah,
Because I think that's it generally went a lot more to reaching a wider audience to bring it in with the case of like, you know, even though you are an atheist, there are these other religions and stuff.
I also
really
just don't normally see a character that is expressly atheist. It's like you either have a religious character or there's just not a mention of religion.
Yeah, very true.
Like normally expressly atheist. And I think that's important because there are lots of people who are atheist and that is part of them. So it's good to have it spelled out, like, yes, this character is. And
yeah. I really liked, I didn't mention this yet, but I really liked Michael's character arc on that sense where he starts out this book as like a staunch atheist who thinks people who are religious are dumb. And then he grows into this person who still doesn't believe in a particular religion or if there is a God or anything, but way more open-minded. And that part of his character arc reminded me a lot of myself because I have been there and I'm not there anymore.
But I also think it wasn't a conversion story.
No, at the same time. It was just more like opening-minded.
Yeah.
Like none of his
Yeah.
friends tried to convince him to be something else, which I
Right.
really appreciated because I feel like their friendships really showed you how you can be friends with people who believe different things than you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because like so many people think that they need to be friends with like-minded people, and it's like you don't need to agree on everything
Mhm.
because diversity of thought is very important.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I definitely loved that too. What, Emma, were you gonna say something?
I was basically gonna say that I liked how like all of the characters, their belief, like the overall belief they have stays the same through the entire story, even if they become more open-minded. Like I know one of the questions on Goodreads is this a conversion story? And like the author responded no. So like I like that, like even though Michael is an atheist or Lucy is a Catholic, like nobody changes like who they are at their core, but they just become a little bit more aware.
Yeah,
And that's what I
accepting.
really like about
It's not like
it.
Lucy
Yeah, and
never gives up
accepting.
on being Catholic and Michael never like becomes Catholic. It's just kind of like they learn how to navigate their relationships while still being a Catholic and an atheist. The same
Yeah.
It's almost harmful to like not have stories like that and have stories where you have those two characters have to end up with one of them becoming like the other, because it just perpetuates the idea that you can't coexist with people that don't wind up believing the same things as you. So, I agree.
Yeah, I loved it. My last question that I have is two-part, either or, I guess. Sorry, okay. So either, what is another book that you've read that has a religious factor to it and has like similar themes, I guess, as this book? And or what book are you excited for that's coming out that has some sort of religious undertone in it?
Ooh. My thought first is Release by Patrick Ness, which no one ever talks about, and it's really annoying because it's a fantastic own voices novel about a gay teen who grows up in an evangelical household, and it's more about like his relationship with an ex and him growing as a person and learning to accept himself than like the religion aspect. It really is a subplot. But I find there to be there's like, in my opinion, from what I read, I haven't read a ton of stories where, it follows a main character from the LGBTQ plus community in a religious family. And that's such a reality for so many people. And Release was just amazing. And I think everyone should read it. It's so good.
Cool. The one with religion, Burned by Ellen Hopkins. It's not so much focused on the religious aspect, but the way the main character is brought up in such a religious household and the things that happen.
Stop! Sorry, my cat got stuck. His head was in here. Sorry, I wasn't yelling at you. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'll stop.
Sorry. He was stuck and he was freaking out for a second. He got nervous.
Oh, poor baby.
But I think this was like the first, because religion's not really a book topic that I actually like, gravitate towards. So I think picking up this one and actually like being faced with the extremity of this religion was really, really interesting, and it was good.
Nice.
Great.
Anyone else?
I already mentioned mine because like I love autobiography. That book is amazing, and the way it portrayed the Church of Latter-day Saints is like, in my opinion, really accurate. Now I've never been a member of the church, but I have like experienced the whole thing and like going on mission and everything like that. My cousins do, and so I loved that. And then one book that I'm excited to read, like A Very Large Expansive Sea, and then I really want to read Love, Hate, and Other Filters that like address being Muslim in America. Like those are books that I'm really excited about.
I'm writing all of these into the the live chat, and I'm not sure if I spelled Latter-day Saints right. I spelled it Latter, so sorry.
I don't know how to spell it.
Okay, I just
You
wanted to
put,
like say,
LDS or the Mormon Church. They're all the same thing.
I just wanted to like say that I know I probably spelled that wrong, and I apologize if I did. Christina, I think you got knocked out before I said what we're talking about, but I asked for either a recommendation of a book you've read with religious undertones or a book that you're excited that's going to come out with religious undertones.
Oh, I'm the worst with books that are coming out because I never know what they are until I see all the recommendations on BookTube, and I'm like, oh, I want to read this and this. In fact, it was Emma's video that made me want to read Heretics Anonymous.
Nice.
I didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. I was just like, oh, this is interesting.
That's also why it was an option for this live show, because she was talking about it. And then when it got picked, I was like, so Emma.
Yeah, I think I had this book on my TBR since like the beginning of the year because I think Emma talked about it in like her most anticipated release of the year. Like, it has toast on the cover.
Toast. Rhiannon,
These are how you make great life decisions.
Recommendation?
I do. They're not like this one, but they do have elements. I would say Toil and Trouble is an anthology that has to do with witchcraft. Yeah. Not all of them are realistic. Like, some of them are, like, fantastical. Do you have to do that right now? My cats are just a menace. Anyway, some of the stories have realistic elements to them. Of course, like, witchcraft is, like, the least, like, formulaic thing in the world. Like, one person's craft is going to look completely different from the next. But some of the stories are realistic, and so I recommend it. And then, actually, this has struck me as I'm reading it. It's my current read, Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Actually,
I'm going to reread that right now.
Light religious undertone with one of the characters. Like, one of the main characters, I don't know if anyone here has read it, believes in God.
I haven't either, but I'm excited.
Not a spoiler.
Read it.
Okay.
He believes in God, and it like heavily influences like the way his brain works. It's not necessarily a super positive thing, but I think that's important too because I think we should have like the positives and the negatives out there are both. So I would say Vicious and
Nice. Mine, well, I said The Order of Nature earlier, but I would also recommend Our Own Private Universe by Robin Talley, I believe. Our Own Private Universe is about a Black girl whose family is super religious, and she goes on this retreat to somewhere in Central America. Is it Mexico?
I think
I'm not sure if it's Mexico, but yeah, it might be. So they go down there to, I think, build a church. Now I'm not remembering if I know this correctly, but they go down there to do something.
It's like a mission. It's a missions trip.
It's a missions trip. So they go down there.
Yeah, they probably go out on there to like build a church and
they're doing some sort of
it's like a retreat or something. Yeah.
And we have bisexual representation and lesbian representation. You have families finding out and the way that they react, which I thought was really well done. And then you also have some really good sex education, safe sex conversations about girl-on-girl sex. And amazing.
I really like this book, and it makes me so mad that I got dragged to filth over
I know.
who DNF'd it. Like, I will never get over it. It was such a good book.
It's so good.
I really like that book.
So that one is one.
So
and then
good.
I also would recommend Love, Hate, Love, Hate, and Other Filters is one of the anticipated ones, but I was trying to say Large Expansive Sea. They just
I'm
both
excited
come out, I
for
guess.
those too.
Yeah, so those would be mine. All right, so I think this is wrapping it up. I think we are ready to go. Rhiannon made it just in time.
we got everyone in.
Rhiannon, do you have anything before we go? I want to make sure you got to say anything.
No,
you really want to.
Yeah, I think you guys probably had a wonderful discussion.
Sorry.
I feel fulfilled still. I feel like
what was Rhiannon's favorite character? Who was her least favorite character?
Eden. was my favorite character, but again, I'm biased. And, well, Eden and Michael, which is an unpopular opinion apparently, and I didn't realize that. And my least favorite was his dad.
Yeah.
There were growing moments for him. Like, I'm not just like, wow, I hate him with all of my life force. But yeah, I don't like him. Like, the controlling things he did, like the going into his room and like clearing it out, like, oh, me being your dad and feeding you and putting a roof over your head means that if you make me upset, I'm just going to take all those things away because it's my right to do that because I'm your dad. And I'm like, no one asked to be born.
Such an issue with him just like moving the family to Belgium.
Yeah. And
like,
no one asked to be born
Belgium.
into this family either. Like, you don't get to pick it.
It's your responsibility to be a good dad. It's not his responsibility to be grateful. You do the bare minimum or like whatever, you know? So, yeah. He's my
There's a really good, I've heard this a lot about how like parents should always have unconditional love for their children, but children will never always have unconditional love for their parents. Because it's just, that's not how it goes. I mean, the hope, obviously, is that you raise them and then they want to love you. But that's not always the case. That's not always going to happen. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop this broadcast. So thank you guys, everyone, for participating. Those of you who were in this live show, thank you for joining me. And for those of you who were watching, thank you also. This coming Saturday, Rhiannon's channel, we're going to be talking about the Dream Thieves with the people who were in the last live show for Sassy Book Club. And then the next book for Sassy Book Club is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab, which is a sequel, so make sure you read Vicious first. Don't spoil yourselves. This is a number 2. This is not a number 1. And we'll be discussing this on November 17th.
My birthday!
Yeah! So soon! I don't remember the time for the live show, but if you follow Sassy Book Club on Twitter, then you can get all of that information. Now it's up there. I just don't remember the time of the day. Okay, so thank you guys for watching.
Yay! Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.